Good morning, gorgeous people. How are you all doing today? I hope you're well. I am. It's a bit of a grey, miserable day. Don't care. I've got a really busy day on my hands at home. And because of that, before I kind of do anything else today, I'm going to make some food. This will do me for lunch. I might have it for supper as well. It's going to be one of those days, I think. So yeah, lunch and supper. Lunch about 1, supper about 8, maybe 9. In between, maybe at 4, 5 o'clock, I've got the very last bit of bread I bought on New Year's Day. Very last bit of my broad bean dip, mash, whatever you want to call it. I can have that as a snack this afternoon. But today, I'm using up some more leftovers. I'm hot already, I've been running around like a maniac. Yeah, it's soup season. Yay! I love soup season. I love soup anyway. Soup is so, it can be, depending on what you put in it, it's so nutritious. It's so easy to digest if you then need to be on the go after you've eaten. None of that kind of post-lunch slump. It's generally quite quick. It's a really easy thing to make as a batch cook. So more often than not, when I cook a soup, if I do 1 pan of it, that'll give me about 5 portions. So 1 for today, 1 for tomorrow, or 2 for today. It'll make 5 portions. I'll generally put 3 in the fridge and 2 in the freezer. Great. So not only am I eating today and tomorrow, I've got spare in the freezer for another day. You all know this, you batch cook too. So the last few days I've been using up bits and bobs of leftovers from Christmas. I did go and buy extra. So for example, I found carrots at Lidl for 19p. Amazing. That was for a kilo. So I had a couple over Christmas and I had loads left over, so yeah, of course. I'm just waiting for the kettle to boil. We're doing it kind of together. Of course, I made up a load of carrot and lentil soup. More of that. I'm going to tell you about that in a second. I bought, I think it was 500 gram bags of sprouts for 19 pence. Not a kilo. Oh, that handle's hot. Ow, oh, ow, ow, ow. The sprouts were 19p, I think for 500 grams. Bought a bag of those, but I love my sprouts so much, they all went. So I can't remember whether it was Boxing Day or the day after. I went back and they still had them for 19p. So I bought a load more and I've got some left over. So I'm going to make a soup with them today. And I know there's going to be a load of you who go, oh, I hate sprouts. But you know what, this soup is lovely. Trust me, give it a go. Oh, my fat's on too hot. So I'm just going to, ingredients wise, I know in the past when I've done a soup, I show you a nice still picture of all the ingredients. I'm not in that mode today, I'm just getting on. So, I'm going to put a bit of water in as well, stand back though. And that way, with a bit of water as well, they kind of steam and fry at the same time. I think it makes it all quicker. So I've got an onion that's been chopped in the olive oil and water. I've got a spud. This is one of the ones I dug up the other day that made me so happy because I thought all my spuds would be mush from being frozen. I haven't cut into it. Let's see what's in the middle. 1 spud. An onion, a spud, I've got some celery, more on that in a second, and then the prize in here, my sprouts. Now they look quite pale, that's because so many of the outer leaves have come off. But this is a really great way for using up your leftovers or, you know, for instance, with your garden sprouts, maybe they look a bit tatty and manky, and you feel that by the time you've taken outer leaves off and trimmed them up, there's barely anything left. I mean, some of these are, look at this as an example. It's the tiniest nub of sprout. yeah, by the time you've cleaned them up, you feel like there's just nothing left. Don't despair. Chuck them in this soup, because we're going to eat the sprouts. It's all going to be blended. What they look like doesn't matter. So yeah, I think this is a great way to use up your leftovers without worrying about how they present on a plate, if you would, or in a bowl. Like, you put your bowl on the middle of the table at Christmas, and they're all beautiful. They're big. They're perfectly formed. Yeah, that's one thing. This is for your scrappy, scratty, manky looking sprouts. So these I kind of peeled, chopped, whatever. Last night I was listening to something, I was entertained, just sat there with them in my lap, doing them. Great. So what have we got? Onion, spud, leftover sprouts, that's probably about 250 grams, probably in terms of fist size, about 2 times the size of the spud. I've got a litre of stock I've just made up, and then behind you I've got my celery to chop. Now this is shop bought celery. When was the last time you saw me using shop bought celery? Have you ever seen me use shop bought celery? So I do have celery in the garden. Shall I just chop and chat? Yeah, otherwise we'll be here forever. I'm going to try and make this a quick one today, because I realise the last few videos have been really long. And I know that loads of you like that. You like the sort of chatty company while you're doing other stuff. But I think for a recipe, I just need to get on with it, don't I? Otherwise, people will be complaining, shut up and get to the recipe. They just don't understand who I am. Shutting up is not part of me. Okay, so shop bought celery. Why on earth have you bought shop bought celery? So a few days ago, I can't remember when it was. It might have been New Year's Eve even. Anyway, I've been to the garden. I picked a load. Great. But like I said, I've been making so much soup at the moment, and with those leftover carrots, the cheapy 19p carrots, I suddenly thought, oh, they might start going bendy soon. Quick, let's get them cooked, we'll make them into a soup. And you know what? How many soups start with a base of carrots and celery anyway? So the long and the short is I used it all up. So why don't I go back to the garden to just pick some more? Because the video after this, not after this, straight after it, one of the reasons it's going to be a busy day today is, and that I'm going to try and keep this short and quick, is the other day I was mentioning the budgeting video, which I'm going to film next. I've got all my bullet points, I've got all my points that I want to say, it's all ready to go, I just need to actually film it. But so I lost my train of thought. That's the problem with chatting. Oh yeah, shop bought celery. After the budgeting video at some point, I'm going to do a video which is a bit of a departure for me. I'm going to do a bit of a taste test comparison, and I wanted at the same time to do a price comparison. So I'm going to make a video that is tinned soup versus homemade. And I say versus because I want to look at two things. One, taste, of course. But secondly, and I think more importantly, I want to look at cost, because I always think, I eat for pennies because I eat from the garden. But if I didn't have a garden, what would it actually cost me? Because I know there's a lot of people who don't have a garden. I still think my recipes would be super frugal, even if you had to buy all the ingredients, all the produce. So I want to put that to the test. I'm a woman of my word. I stand by everything I do. I've always said I'm frugal. Let's see if I really am frugal when it comes to my recipes. Do they work? Are they frugal if I have to buy all the ingredients? So because that recipe is coming soon, I need celery for it. And I thought, oh, just nip down to the garden. No, I'm going to buy celery and see what is it like if I had to buy everything, how much does it cost out at. So that's for another video, but I won't be using all the celery in that. So yeah, might as well chuck this in today. Now I'm going to just chop into the, I need a bigger knife, I'm going to chop into my spud that lay underground during that 10-day freeze. There's a tiny bit of damage at the top, but that's not frost damage. That's fine. That's just some wig of some sort has got in. Fine, just chop it out. You don't have to add a spud to this. This is one of those recipes, it's not really a recipe. It's kind of, how to put it, it's just common sense soup making, you know. Pretty much all soups are going to start with some onions, which are fried off. They're not, I'm just getting them soft and translucent. I'm not interested in colouring them up at all. But yeah, most soup recipes, if you're not really big on your soup making yet, but you want to get more so this year, if you start off with some onions and garlic if you want. I'm not putting any garlic in today, can't be bothered with the fat of garlic. Onions, and then generally celery. Quite often celery and carrots finely chopped, and so often our stock, if you buy ready-made stock, that's the basis of stock: onions, celery, carrots. Great. So yeah, onions, celery, carrots. I'm not putting carrot in this because I don't know. Oh no, I've got some for that recipe, but I'm not going to put any in there. But onions and celery, great basis for a stock, any soup. The star of your show. But because I want this to be a thick and creamy soup, I'm putting a potato in, and that'll thicken it. And I just happen to have a potato at the moment. So I'm just chopping the spud so that it's sort of roughly similar sort of size to the Brussels sprout pieces. Going for the similar size, just so that they all cook through at roughly the same time. This, honestly, it shouldn't take long to cook. I think 20 minutes. So they're all chopped. The onions have had a nice bit of melty time. Just whack the rest of the ingredients in. So in go the spuds and celery. Oh, out. Hot. Then the sprouts. And the thing about sprouts is they can be a little bit of a faff to prep, can't they? I'm sure a lot of you, if I put sprout skin in my glove, I'm sure a lot of you had sprouts at Christmas in whatever form. You know, some people hate them. You know what, honestly, I love them, even if they're just boiled with a little bit of butter on them. I'm salivating at the thought of this already. But yeah, they can be a little bit of a faff to sort of peel and prep. So, you know what, if you get an achy back, if you get an achy back from standing, or you've got achy knees, do them in your lap, do it sitting down. Do it watching telly or listening to the radio, or do it while you're chatting with a mate. Then it's a little bit over a litre of stock actually. Pop that on. I'm just going to pop the heat up a little bit, bring it up to the boil, and then once it's up to the boil I can turn the heat down again and pop it onto the simmer. And I reckon once it's simmering I'll give it 15 minutes, and then because I'm using a cast iron pan which really keeps the heat in, after 15 minutes I'll just turn it off, let it sit for 5 or 10 minutes, and then I'm going to get it all into the blitzer, whiz it up. That potato, I don't know if I said it, that potato acts as a thickener. It'll just make it really thick and creamy rather than, is it consommé when it's see-through? I don't like see-through soups. I don't like kind of dirty water with bits floating. That's what consommé is to me. I like blended soups. I like thick soups. I like a soup that you can stand your spoon up in. Right, well, let's leave that to do its thing, and once I've blended and blitzed it, I'll show you and we'll have a little taste together. And we're done. Now, rather than put this in a bowl and try to show you and have another beet burger accident, I'm just going to show you, before we taste it, I'm going to show you this in the pan so you can get an idea of the sort of viscosity of it. Now, it's not a very thick soup, and I haven't blended it really hard. There's still bits in there. So what you can do, if you prefer a thicker soup, just think in terms of adding something starchy, like you could add one more potato, or you could add some lentils. I'd suggest green lentils, so we keep this beautiful, gorgeous green colour. Even cooked pasta whizzed through. So yeah, if you want a thicker soup, think about adding something a bit more starchy. And then if you want a real sort of cream of type soup, you could just blend it. I'm just trying to find little bits for you so you can see that it's still got bits in it. There is still a little tiny bit of chew in there. But if you wanted a cream of type soup, again, I know loads of you make soup, but for those of you who haven't made a lot of soup, who are just getting into it now, blend it even harder and then pass it through a sieve. I would say that anything that gets caught in this sieve, though, eat it. Don't chuck it away, eat it. That's cook's prerogative. And then you will get a cream of type soup. But enough of that, I want to eat some. Let's get a bowl. Well, I know it's going to taste lovely because I made some the other week, but it's going to be scorchio. It's so lovely. It's actually quite delicate. It's piping hot, so it's actually really quite a delicate taste, and I would say if you're a bit not sure with sprouts, you don't love them, but you don't hate them, give it a go, because it is a really delicate, almost mushroomy taste. A lot of that kind of, how to put it, I don't care what the trolls say, a lot of that kind of farty taste is gone. Now, with this, I haven't added any of the flavouring, so of course you could. I generally don't add salt to my food. I use a reduced salt stock as well, but of course add a bit of salt if that's to your taste. Add pepper if that's to your taste. But with brassicas of any sort, two lovely spices to go with them if you want to just pep up that flavour a bit. The thing about spices, that what I like about them is when they kind of just put that warmth, that taste warmth through a dish without overpowering those original ingredients. So one of the things I like to add to brassicas is cardamom. Cardamom is a lovely, it's got that gorgeous light lemony citrusy almost taste that really lifts brassicas. But the other thing, of course, is a bit of nutmeg. You could pop a bit of nutmeg in. And the other thing you could do, if you were serving this up for lunch for friends, obviously you could serve it with some bread or toasted sourdough maybe. You could put a sprinkle of cheese on the top, and again with things like brassicas, blue cheeses work really well, so a little crumbling of some blue cheese on the top, or for your vegan friends, some of your nutritional yeast flakes. The thing with all my recipes is I do very, very basic stuff. I don't add a lot. I use what I've got, except chopped bok celery this time. I use what I've got, and if I don't have the other stuff, I don't bother about adding. And actually, over time, what happens is you really start to taste individual vegetables and appreciate them for what they are and the flavours they give, rather than reaching for and smothering them with salt and pepper and all sorts of other stuff. Try things a little bit plainer for a while and start to really taste, because all of my vegetables and even chocolate ones, they're taking up salt from the ground. They don't really need the addition. But anyway, it's up to you, it's your palate, whatever you fancy. As a little basic for using up your Brussels sprouts, brilliant, or any of your brassicas for that matter. And just as a basic, you know, those basic principles for making any soups, your soup base being your onions, your celery, and possibly your carrots. I didn't want to turn this one orange. That's a great basis for any vegetable soup. In terms of wanting a thicker soup, think in terms of potatoes, lentils, some cooked pasta whizzed in at the last minute. All of those things will help to thicken. But whatever soup you fancy, have a go. Just have a go. Chuck in whatever veg in. And I love also, just to say very quickly, because we are going, because it's supposed to be a quickie, it's that thing of, yes, mixed veg soup is gorgeous, but before you always reach for that kind of mixed veg soup, try making some soups with just one vegetable as the star, so you can really get a chance to taste what that vegetable tastes like. And you may surprise yourself. You may make a sprout soup and think, wow, that's really yummy. And this really is. So I'm going to say, ta-ra! This is supposed to be for lunch, but I'm actually going to have this bowl right now as a late breakfast. So, it's really lovely. It is surprisingly delicate. You would not. You know what the test for this would be? Excuse me, sorry. My sister hates sprouts. I reckon I could get this one by her. Shh, no one tell her. Okay, that's it for today. I will see you again really soon. We're going to do that budgeting video. I'm going to literally sit down right now because I need to make some visuals pages to show you. So I'm going to do that one now, and that's the one you're going to see next. So until then, look after yourself. Have fun experimenting with soups. Get into soup making if you've never really done it before. It's quick, easy, nutritional, cheap. What's not to love? And talking of love, lots of love to, excuse me, all of you. Until the next one, cheerio. Have I got sprout in my teeth?